Unit 3. Lesson 2. Hold out on handouts. Homelessness, unemployment, and food insecurity impact the lives of millions of people. It is tempting to turn to quick and simple solutions to deal with these issues, but a solution can seem simple when it's not. The idea of a universal basic income, or UBI, is a radical idea that is growing in popularity. It is based on the theory that governments can and should provide everyone with a certain amount of money regularly, no matter the circumstance. Yet, however lovely the idea of giving people money may seem, it's a poorly thought out one. Many economists believe that a UBI would cause more problems than it would solve. The first obstacle a UBI presents is easy to identify. Where would the money come from? If the United States gave each citizen $10,000 a year, for example, it would cost about $3.3 trillion annually. For comparison, the country's entire 2020 budget was $4.8 trillion. And $10,000 does not even equal the average individual poverty line in most states, which is closer to $12,000 and can go as high as $16,000. According to the International Labor Office, the amount needed to fund a UBI could be equivalent to 20 to 30% of the GDP in most countries. In many cases, a UBI costs too much to fund without raising taxes or defunding other assistance programs. This is a risky trade-off since losing forms of government help like healthcare could end up ruining just as many lives as a UBI would save. Another issue is UBI's effects on economic behavior. Would it discourage people from working and encourage laziness? Although this is an understandable concern, studies find that it's mostly unsubstantiated. Would people waste their UBI on unnecessary purchases? Maybe, but governments could place legal restrictions on how the money is to be spent. The bigger problem with UBI systems is not that individuals may misuse it, but rather that the funds would move from the government's hands into the hands of companies who may be more interested in making profits than solving poverty. This is because employers can get away with paying their workers less so long as they are receiving government money every month. A UBI could make the rich richer, widen the wealth gap, and possibly cause inflation. When combined with the cost to fund a UBI, these factors make it unlikely that this system would remain economically sustainable. Robert Greenstein is the founder of the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, a nonpartisan research and policy institute. He finds that universal programs do not work well politically in the U.S. In contrast, means-tested programs that require a person to meet specific requirements for eligibility, have expanded in the last decade. It isn't difficult to see why. After all, why should people with comfortable incomes get the same benefits as those who are actually struggling? Examples of means-tested programs in the U.S. include the Earned Income Tax Credit, which reduces taxes on poor and middle-class families, and Medicare, which provides medical assistance to people over 65 and certain younger people with disabilities. Expanding these programs costs less than a UBI, is popular with voters, and provides relief to those in most desperate need. These conditions alone make the possibility for change far more likely, since politicians tend to support less risky changes. Expanding existing programs isn't all that can be done. For example, governments can subsidize employment directly by funding large-scale projects to repair the country's aging roads, dams, public transport systems, and more. Such civil works projects would create jobs while also improving all citizens' quality of life. Another idea, which was proposed by Edmund Phelps from Columbia University, is to subsidize workers' wages by matching a percentage of what they earn. To illustrate, if a person made $10, the government could contribute an additional $1. That way, citizens have an incentive to earn as much as possible. The 21st century has been praised for its many innovations, At a glance, the idea of implementing a universal basic income seems like gold. But before committing to the idea that there's a universal fix for problems such as homelessness, unemployment, and food insecurity, take a moment to think. You might find that not all that glitters is gold.